Hello and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass and today we're doing another faction quick review. Today's faction is 100k. We're going to talk about its various sub-factions, its army rules, its sub-faction special rules, the supremacies, some of the character warbands, how different things intermix and match. We're not going to go really deep onto army lists, but we're just kind of give a quick overview of the faction that you can yourself get an idea of how 100k plays by reviewing all this. Or send this to a friend who's interested in 100k and Conquest the Last Argument of Kings. So with that, let's get the army rules and everything. So first off with the army rules, the weird thing I want to say about 100k is that it has a bunch of rules. So it has the army rules, it has the sub-faction rules, and it has the supremacies. And each of these are all going to work together and interact with one another in some way, shape, or form to get the armor you want to play. One of the key strengths of 100k is that it tends to have a tool for everything in the game, but can you bring that tool in the list you want? If you bring too many tools, you tend to not have a cohesive fighting force. You're split in too many directions, and so you lose. If you just bring one tool singular and push it as far as it goes, you have what's classified as like a sweeper style list where you're going to win those matchups, but then you're going to lose the things that counter you. So 100k is kind of all about that. It's considered the most balanced faction in the game, what I am quite grateful for. And it's actually they're kind of good. So 100k things to start off with. I will say the sub factions are Imperial, Theist, Feudal, and the Orders. I'm going to touch on these as we go and kind of expand more upon them as we go because we kind of have to get through the army rules and sub faction rules to kind of put these together and what these actually mean. So first off, we're going to talk about Memories of the Red Years. This means Order, Theist, and characters cannot work in the same list because lore-wise, the Theist and the Orders don't like each other, so they're not friends. Then we get into the Dynastic Alliance. So you have 2 Warlords and 2 Supremacies in 100k, what's actually really powerful. There's a lot of good Supremacies you will find as we go through, and having 2 of them is just going to buff up and make these sub-factions work together more. So you're going to have Theist, Feudal, Theist, Imperial, and then you're going to Imperial, Feudal, and then Imperial Orders and Feudal Orders all working together. And so there's a lot of mix and matching, and having Warlord and then a secondary Warlord who counts. He doesn't count as a Warlord, but is a Warlord for all their purposes. So I think you still have to kill what's been classified as the Warlord through various FAQs, but you will get the 2 Supremacies. Another thing to remember about these supremacies is that there's an active part of supremacy. So when you got the always on, battlefield, and active, you can only trigger one active supremacy once per round. You can't double up. Next army rule is Relentless Drills. This is a fun one. So when an infantry regiment is veteran and comprises of 5 or more stands, you will get additional seizing stand on the command stand based upon the resolve bonus for having the greater size. So this goes up to a max of 3. This really encourages having large bricks. 100k infantry tends to want to run in large bricks, so that's your Household Guard, your Gilded Legion, your Men-at-Arms, your Crusaders, all that sort of stuff. Anything that has support, and there's quite a bit of support in 100k, so it very easily allows you to build large bricks with that. Getting veterans, there's a multitude of different ways to getting veterans on your stuff. Some things just have veterans. They just have that classification in their document. Some things have spend points to gain veterans, so spend an extra 10, 15 points, and then you can also veteran it. And then there's different abilities of, the Feudal, anything in the warband will have veterans as well. So let's get into our sub-faction rules. Sub-faction rise, Imperial Warlord, you will get, during the reinforcement phase, up to 2 friendly Imperial Infantry who come on, get Vanguard 5. That's a really nice one to get your large bricks up the table. Family Traditions, this is going to be probably the biggest one a lot of people see and are going to use, because if the Army Warlord has the Feudal subfaction, so this is your Mounted Noble Lord, your Noble Lord, those 2. All Feudal regiments in the Warlord's Warband gains veterans for free, so that's really nice. And in addition, all Feudal regiments and character stands in the army gain the Dynastic Alliance subfaction battlefield role as the other faction, or as the other one you pick. So if you pick Imperial, all your Feudal regiments will also be Imperial. So that means, oh look, now you can pick those regiments to get Vanguard 5. Wow, that's really sweet. Also, you get your free veterans there. If you pick orders, you'll get the orders bonus. So martial prowess is the orders one. Veteran, order, command stands, and characters gain flurry. So your mounted noble lord is going to gain flurry. Your command stand on your household knights is going to gain flurry. If you have veteran household guard, you're going to gain flurry. So there's a lot of nice stuff there. What else we got here? And then, okay, here we go. March of the Theist. This is the Theist one. Always active. Veteran Theist regiments gain divine purpose. And I'll read the other one and we'll talk about divine purpose here. In addition, when a friendly Theist regiment is within 12 of a Theist character, it gains Indom 1. So the nice thing about pairing up Feudal and Theist is that all your characters generate 12 inches of Indomitable +1, keeps your stuff alive more. And if you're veterans, you get divine purpose. And because, as we saw, the Warlord's Warband is just going to get a bunch of veterans, so that's already 4 regiments veteraned, you'll have divine purpose. So, Mass, what's divine purpose? This is the big thing that Theist does. We're going to go all the way to the bottom. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. Your 2 specific draw events. So, divine purpose. When this regiment becomes the target of a friendly Theist spell during its activation, the regiment may choose to either add +2 to its first march or +2 to its charge distance. That's what divine purpose is going to do for you. So it's a movement extender, and it's also a threat extender. That's actually really nice on, let's say, household knights who are speed 7. They charge up to 9, auto-inning on 10. You can also use it. You can kind of do some weird, funky things with it, to be honest. You can get Gilded Legion to shoot up like 11 inches, 13 inches, even, actually, surprisingly, even longer if you really want to get funny with it. But it's a threat extender. The Archangel, when we start looking through the individual regiments, we'll see her. She has a bubble of just gives out free divine purpose. Like, it automatically triggers while you're within, I think it's like 8 or 10 inches of her or something. It's been a while since I last played her, so you'll have to excuse that. But the another thing is also the Theist Priest. When you activate his Supremacy, activated one Theist Priest in the army may immediately perform one additional out-of-sequence spellcasting action. This spell is automatically successful, as it's scoring the successful amount of hits. In addition, until the end of the round, when a friendly Theist character successfully casts a spell targeting a friendly Theist regiment, all other friendly Theist regiments currently on the battlefield are also affected by that spell. So, you'll activate Spirit Shrines, you'll cast Bless. Bless will then hit every single Theist regiment. Oh, you have family traditions. All your feudal regiments are also count as Theists, so now you'll have Blessed Household Knights. And they'll also trigger all the divine purpose. So as you can see, as you go through these army rules and supremacies, things start stacking on top of each other in various ways. So 100k, if you're like, oh, how does this work? What is going on? I don't know. It's a lot of this, of just like, you need to read the army rules, the subfaction rules, and the supremacy rules, and then you have to match them together like a match game. And you're basically trying to gain as much power as possible out of these rules. And the nice thing about 100k is that it's very flexible. Like, already, as I've explained some of these rules, is that you can see, like, there's a lot of mixing and matching. You have a lot of customization. 100k is a great faction to just get into and just kind of, like, pick up stuff, because everything kind of works together, sadly, except for the orders and the Theist. But a lot of it just kind of works together, and you can just move around and do whatever you want. That's a nice thing there. Alright, let's talk about supremacies. So, combat maneuvers. Imperial friendly veteran infantries may perform a free reform. So this... Oh, and they gain opportunists. So, this free reform is not fluid formation. So, you will actually get a proper, old-school kind of fluid formation. If you don't know, fluid formation got updated that if you want to use fluid formation, you have to start and end 3 stands maximum frontage. You can't, like, unwind and rotate yourself to gain a threat advantage. However, because this is a reform action and not a fluid formation reform action, it still counts. You can, move your stands out, twist yourself, get, let's say, divine purpose for a speed buff. Let's get that upgrade where you entourage from the Imperial Officer onto the Gilded Legion unit for another +2 inches. And you can just shoot out like a big unit of Gilded Legion into your opponent and kind of fight them there. This is a fantastic supremacy, really good. Opportunist is really nice. There's a ton of shooting in 100k, getting rerolls on the shooting if you're in the flank. Getting rerolls with the melee guys is always good. This is, like, the Imperial supremacy is very strong. Professional troops. This one's just kind of like household knights don't die. Also a lot of other things. So as we said, if you're feudal and have the feudal tag, you're just going to get more bonuses. Feudal likes to stack a lot of bonuses, and the supremacy really exemplifies that. So while a friendly feudal regiment is within aid of a friendly character or feudal character, They can reroll any unmodified rolls of 6 during a clash or defense rolls. This 6 works against spellcasting, impacts, clash, shooting, spells, whatever. It works against all defense because it's a defense roll. It won't work during a duels or impacts, but your Household Knights, if they're veterans, they're going to 3, they inspire to 4, they're rerolling the 6s because of the professional troops. So your 4 is rerolling 6s on 16 attacks. You charged in, and your D4 rerolling 6s. It's going to be really tough to kill Household Knights. This just really locks it in. There's other regiments, like if you're running Feudal Theist, you can have a big group of men-at-arms who are going to get the Theist tag by having a Crusading Noble Lord, as well as just being feudal innately. So then professional troops will work on them while also getting the Theist benefits as well. So there's a lot of different combos like that, and it's really just like kind of figuring it out, finding the ways in. Already talked about Spirit Shrines. Lastly, the first blessing, this is Orders. All friendly Orders regiments add +1 to their attack territories, so then gain Hardened +1. So, professional troops. You're a feudal Orders list. All your command stands gain Flurry. All your characters gain Flurry. Sweet. You are both veteran, Orders, and feudal. So then you activate the Supremacy, you get +1 attack and Hardened 1 on Household Knights. And you're re-rolling 6s for Clash and Defense, on top of having the command stand. So there's a lot of re-rolling, weirdly enough, in a feudal list, especially with like the first blessing. So there's a lot of just different power in here and mixing and matching, and that's kind of what I want to really showcase here with the 100k of why it's so strong. Let's get into all the different stuff. So we're going to go to here, back to the army builder. Really love this. Mounted Noble Lord, what's great about him? Double mainstay Household Knights. I've kind of talked a lot about the Household Knights. You can't buy veterans on Household Knights, but if you have a Mounted Noble Lord, all Noble Lord characters have the personal entourage where you may select, specifically a Household Knight to gain veterans if they don't have it. But what is the other one? I think it's the Noble Lord, personal bodyguard. He can select any infantry to become veterans if they don't have it. So usually the unit they're in, if you like take a second Mounted Noble Lord, they can be veterans too. And then you'll get all the bonuses, because everyone loves bonuses. Clash 2 baseline is their big weakness, but they're basically always going to be veterans when you're running Household Knights, so it's really not. It's just to reduce the amount of spamming of Household Knights, because you can get really obnoxious with Household Knights if they were allowed to be spammed. What else about this guy? He's got some good stuff. He's got good weapon art, or different weapon arts. You're probably going to take Weapon Master or Turning Champion, to be honest. Cleave 1 or more impacts is fine. For upgrades, Caliburn, the reroll, successful defense, and hits the character does during charge, clashes, and volleys is really good. This is usually going to go on a prior commander because he has more damage. Oliphane's Roar, you'll gain Glorious Charge on a feudal brick, so this is for like a big brick of House of Knights. So you get +1 Clash and Terrifying 1 on your impact, so that's going to put your guys up to Clash 4 on the impact. They won't get the reroll 6s because it's only during a Clash action on the Supremacy, and you just, kind of hit them with a big charge there. Lorien Lance is fine. Mask of Icarus, you got 10 points left over, getting Indom +1, and then if, let's say, you're running Theist and Feudal, you'll get that Imdom to +2 on the regiment that the character's in, so that's really nice. Masteries, there's some good stuff in here. Art of War is a really good one. This is a free, you go without spending a card. You just need the character on the field. This tends to be put on a Chapter Mage, something that, or an Imperial Officer that's getting on early. Anything that's getting on early. Sometimes on, a Horse Guy. But this is just a free, extra card draw early on in the game. It's 100% worth the 25 points. Seize the Advantage. You'll see this on Imperial because it's Imperial only. +2 for the charges. This is what I talked about. This is how you're going to get that Gilded Legion with the Imperial Supremacy. The Reform, +2 charges if you entourage in what you're going to do. And then you charge out with the Gilded Legion and you're going to do a ton of damage. Tip of the Lance gives Wedge. So when once you get that charge, your Clash. Wedge is pretty good. You'll probably see that on some Order stuff like Sealed Temple or sometimes Household Knights. +2 attacks, reroll failed hit rolls and successful defense rolls for eccentric fighting style, just more damage. Front of the line gives Bravery. You'll see Bravery usually on a Crusading Noble Lord or a Noble Lord with a big unit of Men-at-Arms or Crusaders in a Theist feudal list, to be honest. Yeah. Household Knights, probably one of the best anvils in 100k, weirdly enough. They're a great MSU. They're priced very well. They have very good defensive stats. Their only weakness is that they're wound 4, and sometimes chip damage does get through and they die. But besides that, they're a phenomenal regiment. Mounted Squires, Their speed is really good. Basically, a men-at-arm on a horse. You have the same stats as a men-at-arm, and you have Opportunist, but is actually not bad. Also, you can Veterans them for 10 points if you really wanted to get Tenacious 2 against shooting. This should go down to Tenacious 1, so I'm pretty sure the army builder is wrong in this case. Yeah, so the big thing about the Mounted Noble Lord is you're mostly going to be spamming Household Knights, while also trying to use the benefits of feudal, imperial, feudal and whatever else you want to pair them with, if that's imperial orders and theist. The Foot Noble Lord, he gets to pick 2 weapon arts, so you'll grab 2 of these. Okay, here, look, you get +2 attacks. Weapon Master, oh look, now your attack 6 with cleave 1, cool. You take Eccentric Fighting Style, oh wow, look at that. Your 8 attacks, clash 3, cleave 1. Take Caliburn, force your enemy to re-roll all their saves against you, and you're re-rolling all your hits. Like, you're just a melee monster. You never want to duel because you're going to die, but you're going to kill some stuff with your 8 attacks. Household Guard is a great medium. So, a lot of people compare Household Guard and Gilded Legion together. The Household Guard are a medium. The Gilded Legion is a heavy. So, like, kind of what's the difference here? So, the Gilded Legion tend to be more tankier simply because, I'll just scroll down, they have a higher base resolve. They have the Bastion 1 draw events. They're going to be like D4, R4. But these guys tend to be a bit better because of the Imperial, the Iron Discipline. So getting hit in the side isn't going to be as terrible. And Pike Formation to get rid of the impacts, as well as getting rid of Inspire when people charge you. Also, the Imperial Officer has his various battlefield drills where he can give Harden 1, what's going to keep your Gilded Legion alive a little longer. Free Rally, no one really cares. Point Secure, Iron Discipline, this is... Oh, we can give that out. Yeah, no one really cares. But Aim for the Head is Murderous Volley, so you care about that. They just tend to last longer with that higher resolve, to be honest. Also, you kind of take... Usually Armor of Dominion, what's an Imperial only, so you can reduce defense characteristics from Cleave, Armor Piercing, and Smite to 0. Like, you don't get affected by that stuff. You will take Brutal Impact still. But yeah, you're not going to take any of that. Also, Armor Dominion is just this regiment, so it no longer forces the character to be touching the unit that is hitting them. You just have it against that. So Gilded Legion tend to be a lot more tankier, especially with that Armor Dominion. Household Guard are still really good, though, because you take a big brick of them. They got high cleave. You can see like their clashes, too. But if you Veterans them, what's their Veteran upgrade? They get Support +1, so they go to Support 3 like the Gilded Legion. But you can also spend 15 points for an Arms Master, get +1 Clash. What's going to put them in Clash 3? Spider 4. Noble Lord is a feudal character. Oh, look, you're rerolling 6s anyway, so your 4s reroll 6s, and a bunch of cleave 1s, probably doing like 30 hits or something stupid, and you're just wrecking people. Household Guard are pretty good. Feudal, Imperial, if you're running like a big block of Household Guard, like big infantry, you want to look at Imperial Feudal as the combination, especially with that Vanguard getting your big bricks at the table. Men-at-Arms are your chuds. They're fine for what they do. I like them. 110 points for a scoring unit is completely fine. Militia and Militia Bowmen. These are the cheapest regiments, probably. Militia Bowmen is for sure, I think, the cheapest regiment in the entire game. The thing with these guys is that they're both feudal theists. They're getting all those benefits. Errant of the Order of the Shield. We can kind of talk about him. Like, Militia, you're probably going to see more in like a theist or an orders list, specifically with like a theist priest, but not a ton. The Militia are supposed to be cheap. They can't score. They have very poor defense and resolve and wounds. Like, they're just cheap bodies. And sometimes you need cheap bodies if you want to use them as a mainstay buy-in. And that's kind of what their purpose is for the Militia Bowmen, is that they are both mainstay buy-ins. Like, Volley 1 is not a very good shooting on Barrage 3, range 16. Like, oh my god. We get into the longbows, though. So, Veterans, you get advanced firing training. This is the thing where if you're in effective range, you get +1 volley. So you go from volley 2 to 3, you can aim to 4, do a bunch of damage. Longbows are fantastic because they're the longest shooting thing in the entire game, especially with AP 1 and arcing fire. You get like 5 of them in a regiment, and you're shooting, 3 times 5, 15, 16 shots. At 22 inches away, you're going to do a lot of damage, and it's going to force your opponent to take various waves of shooting. You can put these guys behind people, arcing fire over, do a bunch of damage, especially if they're behind your big block unit like your Household Guards. If they are in a fight with something that is size 1 and you can't see them, you can use arcing fire and get over. Hopefully you're within effective range so that -1 to volley has been counteracted by the advanced target training. You'll mostly see longbows. Sometimes you'll see them paired up with the mounted noble lord. Yeah, I like him. It's really just the long range that makes him really good. Imperial officer, as I said before, he's got the combat maneuvers. But his big thing is that he has one of the few things of flank. 100k in flank actually has like a nice reinforcement curve due to Hunter Cadre having flank, the Imperial officer having flank, and the mastery front of the line. That's bravery. Where is it? Seize the advantage. Oh. Get in position. There we go. Gives forward force. There we go. So you get flank. So you can put that on like a noble lord. Get in position is infantry only, so you're going to be putting on the Crusade noble lord, the Esprits. That you know, you're fine with that. Battlefield drills I kind of touched on a little bit. So you have Hardened One, Rally, Iron Discipline, and then Aim for the Head is Murderous Volley. This one's kind of interesting because if you're within 12 and take aim and shoot, your ranged attacks will then do morale damage. This is really nice with the Opportunist, as well as just kind of like Hunter Cadre, simply because they're firing with their like brush through AP1, and they're already veterans. Do you need to be veterans? You don't need to be veterans for that. Also works with more crossbows, weirdly enough. They're going to be fine with it too. But yeah. Oh. Because they have Fiend Hunter. That's it. That's why you want the Murderous Volley, because if you're doing the Fiend Hunter, you're getting the rerolls. That's why you do it on Hunter Cadre. Forgot about that. There's usually you're giving out Hardened One and like Murderous Volley. Sometimes you're doing it twice to 2 different units. Personal Guard gives them bodyguards. Basically, he can now refuse a duel without any negatives. One of the big problems with the Imperial Officer is that you wanted him in very fighty units like the Steel Legion and the Gilded Legion. And he gave out a lot of bonuses. He's very much a support character, but his weakness was that, like, D3, R3, wound 4, no evasion, means he died in a duel. He's class 2 with 4 attacks. Like, he's not doing any work. He has no other special defensive characteristics. He was the pinnacle of a support character who would just die when you just dueled him. Like, and then it's like, okay, he's dueled. You lose access to Armored Dominion. You lose access to your battlefield drills. You lose access to, let's say, Get in Position or Art of War. Like, it was just so many negatives of him dying. Yeah, he's cheap because he doesn't do anything combat-wise, but you really just didn't want him in that regiment, but he provided so many additional support buffs to that regiment and the surrounding area that it was hard to justify him. Imperial Ranger Corps, I don't know, they're fine. The thing about the Imperial Ranger Corps is they're in contestation with the Mark crossbows, and Mercenary crossbows are just 10 points cheaper and basically do the same thing. Steel Legion, surprisingly, are quite a good unit. Steel Legion had some issues where they were dying because of D3, R3 of 4 wounds. This is, once again, a lot of 100k stuff is 4 wounds, so they're very susceptible to a lot of things. Being 4 wounds, you just took chip damage and died. They tried to fix that by giving them Hardened One, so they're resistant to cleave. Oblivious, so they have a little bit more resolve characteristics. Bravery, so they ignore fearsome and terrifying, so they survive more on the resolve. Their nice thing is that they're 5 attacks at class 3 and they do cleave 2. They are a fine unit to come on turn 4 or 5 with the Imperial Officer's Vanguard to get up the table and be in a relevant position. You kind of want to run them as MSUs and just kind of stab shit. The Drill Master, there's really no reason to give them +1 attack in Vanguard 4 for 20 points. It's not worth it. Gilded Legion, going up to Clash 5 on the front rank is fine, but a lot of them, you're support 3, you're doing fine there. Kind of already talked about Gilded Legion. Hunter Cadre, this is very much a very good tool. It has the same volley and barrage as Merc crossbows, but the thing that they get away with is that they are a medium, and they have flank, and they have access to Vanguard from the Imperial Officer. So you're going to be running up the table, getting in position, and scoring your turn 2 pretty effectively. Fiend Hunter, there's a lot of monsters and brutes, so they're getting a lot of work off of that, especially with the shooting. And then if they ever do get in melee, if anyone ever tries to gum you up to stop the shooting, you are Clash 3 going to 4s with the Fiend Hunter. If that triggers, you're in a really nice spot there. Chapter Mage, I guess we'll talk about her. She's got 4 schools of magic. She's got a good gun. She's going to die in a duel. She's got 2 basic spells. Enemies got a spell denial. Auto hitting, suffer 3 hits. Does morale, by the way. Magic missiles, the elemental missiles, quotes. Magic missiles. You're just spamming magic missiles. It's fun. It's useful. Kind of picks off last little stuff. For spells, you got water. What's the healing one? And the obscuring one against volley. That one's kind of nice. You have fire with your fire dart. What's going to do some good damage. You're probably not going to cast Kindled Courage because it just gives +1 resolve. Earth may only perform a charge. In addition, may only perform a max of 2 actions. This doesn't drop off at the end of the round. It stays on. So if you do hit someone with this, they can only perform a charge as their first action. But at 14th range, they'll probably, because it's their first action, their next turn they're just going to charge, fail charge, and then do their regular actions. But you just kind of keep casting this on them. So yeah, there's that. Stones to Earth, Infantry gain Pike Formation, and whatever. School of Air, this is kind of the interesting one. Target friendly gains aim shots, so you get that you're automatically aiming special rule. You want to cast this on, let's say, longbows, hunter cadre, sometimes more crossbows, and then target friendly regiment reroll 6s during a volley action. That one's also a nice one. So mostly you're going to be playing, to be honest, fire and water. You're going to do fire for more damage, water for healing because you can heal the infantry with an attunement for 12-inch range heal, and it's 1 heal per success. Air, you might see if you're trying to be really weird. You rarely see Earth at all. As for masteries, talented, you get 2 schools for 20 points. That's one's worth to take if you have points left over. Protective glyphs, this used to be a supremacy, but now it's enemy spellcasters targeting friendly regiments with the 10 of the character require an additional success. So you could do protective glyphs and elemental vortex, so they require 3 additional successes basically to actually cast spells, but completely shuts down stuff, what's really funny. Overall, she's a good character. One of the things you'll see on her is Art of War, because she's going to come out in either a unit of more crossbows or men-at-arms, and then just be your Art of War dummy as she does other stuff. We get into the Theist Priest. I know this is going to be kind of a little longer than I hope for a quick review. He's fine combat-wise. You don't really want to duel with him because he's not that great. Holy Fire is your flamethrower spells, 2 hits per success. That's really nice. Saint's Favor, +1 evasion to a maximum of 3. You'll kind of cast this on Supremacy turn. So, the big one you're going to cast on Supremacy is Heavenly Blessing, which is going to give everyone blessed. Because it's the regiment the character is in gets blessed. And then because it's a Supremacy, everyone else gets blessed. And it automatically is successful when you declare the Supremacy. So then when you draw the Thieves' Priest card, you can then, cast Saint's Favor, give evasion 1 to everyone to a max of 3. The thing about that is the only one who's really benefiting from that is the Sakari, because they're evasion 2 base. D2, E2, so you're just taking everything on the evasion. So going up to evasion 3 will keep them around. But once again, you're wound 4, so you're going to die to chip damage. E2 baseline isn't going to, be as relevant as, let's say, Trolls, who will get to E2 with the Volva, have 6 wounds to take a hit, and then regen 6. The Skitarii don't regen, so they're really not, making those wounds back. So Saint's Favor, there's also very little evasion in the rest of the army, like Household Knights, I think longbows. Actually, they don't. Wow, look at that. Longbows don't even have evasion. Militia, men-at-arms, all this stuff doesn't have evasion. The only thing that really does is the Imperial Ranger Corps, Hunter Cadre, and Skitarii. There's a very large lack of evasion in 100k. What is one of its weaknesses? So we got Fervor, Flurry on the command stands and character stand. You're probably casting that one. Or Divine Sanction is give Cleave 1 +1 to the character and command stand. Might happen, might not. Depends on how you feel. To be honest, you're doing the blessed one big turn. You might cast one of the other ones depending on what's going on. But Holy Fire is just a really good range 12 attack spell. It's hitting on 3s, does 2 hits per success. You could potentially get 12 hits with this thing, and it's going to do a ton of damage. Skitarii themselves, their kind of biggest issue is what I explained before. E2 is really nice, but it's not going to save lives, especially on wound 4. It's susceptible to chip. They're susceptible to just taking a good hit from just really anything. They do have a nice offensive output at 5 attacks, class 3, cleave 1. But really, they're just going to die to a lot of other things. Archangel, Spirit Glimmers is that one I talked about, where you just trigger the Divine Purpose. It's within 12, so that's pretty good. She's got good combat stats, she's got good defensive stats, she's got good wounds, she's got good speed. She's actually a very good monster. She has Devout, so you're getting some free casting off on her nice and easy. For your additional rolls, we're going to talk about the Sword and Shield. To be honest, a lot of people take the Shield, because that's going to give her the Shield special rule and give her defense through the Shield to 4. And then on top of that, she is going to get the Regen X rule. So all Theist infantry currently within 8 of her at the end of her activation are going to get the Regen X draw event. That is going to be equal to half the number of successful hits to an enemy regiment to a max of 5. So this counts as your impact and your clash. The problem with this is that most of the time, when you send her in there, she shoots really far forward because she's going to be under the effects of her own Divine Purpose. So she's going to go up to, she's charging 10 initially. So then she's outside of 8 of really anything else around her to trigger it the first time. on her impacts and clash. And then she's usually doing like, she might do 7, and then half of 7 is 3.5, and this is round down. So then just regen 3, so you're not even getting, like, you can get a stand back if you get the rest of the stuff around her. It's just a lot of, like, fucking around. The big thing about it is shield to be D4, R4 with 18 wounds and evasion 2. That's really it. The sword did get a buff. The sword will give the Flames of Vengeance, yay! She'll immediately charge 16, ignoring hindering. When she completes the charge, she'll do 8 hits with Smite. Because it is a charge, she will get her impacts on it, and that's kind of her activation. She can, like, fuck up a lot of people with Flames of Vengeance. It's much better than it was before, because before it was, like, range 14. But now it's 16, so it's now taking in the effect of the Divine Purpose. Divine Purpose does not stack on top of the Flames of Vengeance charge because it has a set number like Juggernaut. So you're just getting 16. So and that extra 2 inches kind of helped out for her being relevant. And also they increased the hits from like 7 to 8. So much better there. Archangel, really good. Crusade Noble Lord, oh my god, there's so many. He's just a really good beat stick. He is a theist. You won't really ever make him the Warlord. Well, you might make him the Warlord, but if you don't have a Theist Priest, the Supremacy doesn't work. His Crusading Bowls, he can give Divine Purpose out. So a friendly regiment within 8 of them has a resolve characters of 4 or greater. This does include your scaling. You just have Divine Purpose. Banish the Darkness, you get Oblivious. Cast out the Demon, you get Terrifying. Oblivious is kind of the big one you take with him because he's running big bricks. He's probably running some combat upgrades. He's probably running some combat or defensive or flank masteries. He's just kind of your beat stick in Theist. Crusaders, they're kind of like rats because of that hardened 1 with D3 and Indom 1 baseline. No, he actually gives out Indom. Path of the Righteous gives them Indom. Yeah, see? That allows you to take, like, Hustle Knights, their Theist on top of Feudal and having Indom. Because I know this is weird. Yeah, it's Indom +1. So this will stack with the Subfaction rule that we had before. And we're doing great there. Orders. Oh, we're almost getting to the end. Crimson Tower and Sealed Temple guy. Sealed Temple guy is a little better at fighting. Crimson Tower, a little better at impacting. Makes sense. Same defensive stats, just a change in attack stats and putting them on the impact. Order Crimson Towers, they're very much your... they're kind of deadly at every range. They can March Charge for Line Breaker and more impact attacks, what I think is the correct way. They can charge Clash with Wedge, Shield and R4 and Wound 5, keeps them alive a lot longer. They're actually pretty decent of fighting their way out once they're engaged. You kind of have to put a bit of work into them now to kill them. All the Order stuff gained Fearless, what's really nice in that aspect. So they're now no longer taking Terrifying. They are Terrifying 1. I think the Order of the Crimson Tower are finally in a good spot, so they're doing well there. Or the Ashen Dawn, finally you can take a bunch of stands if you really want to. Besides that, Order the Ashen Dawn on your Brawlers, they're a really good anvil. They're going to get stuck into melee. D4 and R5 with Fearless just means it's going to take forever to kill them, especially with Blessed. With the Ashen Dawn, you really want to have one regiment fighting them at a time. You don't want them to get mobbed, you don't want them to get shot, and you don't want them to get spellcasted. But if they're fighting one thing at a time, they'll tend to just bless through all the damage, fight back, kill a stand, bless through all the damage, fight back, kill a stand. Grind their way through and kill stuff. You don't want to mess with them, they're really deadly. Sealed Temple are kind of in a bad spot with the change to Fluid because of how it now works, where you have to start 3 wide and end 3 wide, so it's not really giving that huge flexible movement it was before. So putting a character in your Sealed Temple isn't really as good of a thing you were doing before. They're still great for 200 points if you're running an MSU, or you can run like a character 2 in front, 1 in the back kind of thing. But they've kind of fallen off a little bit since the change to Fluid, to be honest. Errant of the Order of the Shield is kind of weird. He's trying to make basically crap infantry, militia, men-at-arms, and work with the cavalry, like Order of the Ashen Dawn, Order of the Crimson Tower. This is like the God amongst men, where when a friendly Order's cav charges, all the infantry within 8 of that cav rally and gain inspired. What, to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen or ever come up. Up in arms. Add 1 mainstay, so you get 5 instead of 4, and infantry gain veterans for free. Maximum 5 infantry, and yeah, so infantry will get veterans, so he'll be auto veteran. he's a good combat character. Like, he's attack 5 with cleave 2, clash 3, re-rolling because of flurry and all the other bonuses. But like, it's just better grabbing the horse characters instead of like grabbing for the little guys and then going into the horses anyway. If you want to, you can, but it's just been found with that. But basically, like, 100k has a lot of options. This is probably going to be the longest quick review, quotes, simply because of just how much stuff there is in 100k. As I went through the regiments, you kind of see the combos of, like, Household Knights combining with Theus for Indom, Household Knights combining with Orders for flurry and attacks. Like, 100k the faction is really just whatever you want to do, go do it. Things work together really well. It's really well balanced. They're just in a nice spot for like internal balance and just having fun with the faction and the game. There's a lot of options, and you can really just kind of play whatever you want and try and make it work. And it should, if you're following the various army rules, subfaction rules, and supremacies, things should slot really nicely together so you can play and have fun. But anyway, I hope you guys all had fun like watching this one, listening, hearing me talk about my thoughts. Hopefully understand it a bit more, get an idea of like what this faction is actually kind of trying to do. But it's really just like mixing all your pieces together and just kind of having fun. This is the most versatile faction in the entire game, and it still has a big spot in my heart. So yeah, I hope everyone has a great day. Like and subscribe. Listen to BonkTable podcast on wherever you go. Listen to it. Join the BonkTable Discord in the description below if you want to talk to me more. And yeah, bye.